Good morning, everyone. I thought I would catch up with you this morning because yesterday I was lucky enough to be able to watch an incredible special educational needs briefing as part of Abigail Hawkins' delivery of kind of the predictions for this next 6 months via the SENDcast. As you know, I adore the SENDcast, and Archie and I have recorded a couple of podcasts with them ourselves. The information that they have out there for you schools is phenomenal because it is free. It's also something that you can actually access via your home. So you don't need to be having any twilight sessions. You don't have to be kind of sat in the staff room listening. You can actually just keep up with some CPD from the comfort of your own home and in your own time. I would urge you very much, please, to go and visit that session, and I will put a link down in the comments for that session itself. But for those schools and families who follow us and who just want a kind of brief, I'm going to call it my take homes from the event. I'm going to go through that quickly with you now. So again, thank you. This is information that I have got from Abigail Hawkins and Dale Pickles from yesterday's SEND briefing on the SENDcast. So yesterday we spoke about the fact that the rough estimated scale for the amount of special educational needs children currently sits at around 1.7 million. And obviously that is an estimate. You can never truly tell, which means that the current SEND spend sits at around £9.5 billion. But that funding is still not enough because there is obviously an enormous budget deficit, and also for the fact that we are now having lots of tribunals, which I agree with personally. As a parent carer, I do believe that you have the absolute right to go and to tribunal and fight for your child, but that is costing an additional £100 million. So it's a huge amount of money. It's definitely something I think that they're going to be working on from what I heard yesterday. But yes, although the budget has kind of risen a little bit, it's still bleak, to be honest. Sadly, there's been an increase in school exclusions, almost up to 10,000 pupils, particularly those with special educational needs or those who are living either on or around the line of poverty. I hate to use that term, sorry, but statistically that's where it's sitting. Which also means that there's been discussions about intersectionality between those children who are being excluded and special educational needs children and those who are coming from the slightly less affluent areas. So I think that's something that I'm going to be working on and having a little look into to see how I can support and create some content specifically around that area, because I don't think there's a huge amount out there. If there is, let me know, please, and that would be helpful for me. Changes that have been within schools, suggested changes. School governors are now expected to take a far more proactive role in SEND strategy. So we're talking about whole school strategy and the allocation for funding. This is something that it's just made me really, really happy. I used to sit in on a few spending meetings in my time, and the hundreds of pounds that were wasted on things like, well, a board that you jump up and hit is something that could have been painted on a wall for virtually free, and £350, £400 was spent on that. And obviously, coming from a SEND perspective, I was saying, well, no, that's a Chromebook. That is literally a Chromebook for a child who could learn. But like so many times, at that point, I wasn't listened to. Now, school governors are going to be taking a more proactive part. Their voice does have to be heard more by the leadership team in schools, which is a win. I love that. So thank you very much. The DfE are revising guidance for reasonable force. This is a very tricky one, and I'm not even going to try and advise because I don't know enough about it. But it does mean that if you are a school, you really, really do need to be checking your DfE guidance to make sure that you are on top of your kind of manual handling and your reasonable force policies, because that's something that you could trip up on. Just make sure you're on top of what's expected, what's not expected, what's a no-go, who you can get for training, etc., etc. So do check that out. And again, another takeaway, all schools across the UK are under enormous financial strain. Now, I know this isn't a surprise, But I do think it's really important, because I do think that sometimes some head teachers, some finance managers within school think, oh yeah, we're struggling, how are other people doing it? I think the truth is we're all struggling, and we just have to make the best and get on with what we can. But again, I think that's where it can come down to listening to strategy for funding allocation. If you can listen to outside points of view for that and not just go solely on SLT, I think that would be a great way of making sure that the very little money you have, or the deficit you're creeping into, is worth it. There's been a 140% increase in the applications for educational healthcare plan, and obviously that's money-wise, that's very, very expensive. But again, I'm pleased. Children, if you need an educational healthcare plan, you need an educational healthcare plan. Personally, I don't care if it's inconvenient for the council. I don't care if it's costing the government money. I don't care if a school's getting into deficit. I care that my child's being looked after in the correct way, in the correct location, and with the correct care package. And a 96% tribunal success by parents obviously means that I'm not the only one that feels like that. It means that so many times these parents are being contested and told that they're not right, or they don't have the entitlement to this. Well, 96% success rate would argue with that. So again, do check. If you are in SLT, don't take the easy route and not apply for any HCP, because if a child is going to need it, they need it. It's what's right for the child. Likewise, not all children need EHCP, but there we are. Ofsted. So for those of you who follow us on our TikTok, you'll know that I did have a little tease and a little dig of Ofsted. I am sorry about that, but I couldn't resist. I have the utmost respect for anyone who is trying to make the school system better. I absolutely do. And I don't know enough to make an opinion on it personally, but my initial thoughts on the new grading system felt useless to me. I am pleased to say that after being talked through it by someone who knows exactly what's what, and someone who broke it down for me in a way that I understand, again, thank you, Abigail Hawkins, for that. I think it's rather good, actually. I'm going to say it. So Ofsted are now saying that inclusion is not going to be an add-on to the assessment process. It's in. This essentially means that as a school, if you are not on top of looking after your SEND children correctly, if you're not showing progress, their progress, not the meeting this, but if you're not showing individual pupil progress for your SEND students, you're not going to get like that whole outstanding for a school. I realise that in that moment is probably a bit of a zinger for a lot of head teachers, but for me as a SEND parent, yay! Because every single child within every single school should be at the forefront of every bit of planning. They shouldn't be a differentiation or an afterthought or let's do this for this and that for that, we'll just make that. They should never be like that. Every child is beautiful and unique, and every brain deserves the opportunity to learn. So I was delighted to hear that Ofsted have taken that kind of strong message. How it will work and how they will implement it, I have no idea. But again, you can check that out. If you go to Abigail Hawkins' SEND briefing from SENDcast yesterday, it is there. It's a free session. You just have to register, but it's completely free. And I also learned about something called RISE, the RISE teams. I knew nothing about this at all. RISE teams, Regional Improvement for Standards and Excellence. So apparently they're going to be team members that are going into schools or being in schools, part of RISE teams that are making sure that across the board, or trying to ensure that standards and excellence are standard. Now, the goal of all of this is to create a fairer assessment system to recognise SEND students' ability without forcing them into the inaccessible testing format, which again, for me, makes my heart sing, because I have 2 neurodivergent children and 2 children, and all of my children learn in a very different way. Oddly, one of my neurodivergent children who absolutely hates the testing process, I would say academically is the most intelligent. How can you prove that? How can you quantify that? If you've got a child who is intelligent but simply cannot lay down that intelligence and that academic learning in a standard test formation, then they're going to fail the test. That doesn't mean they can't do it. So this was really exciting to me. Again, I don't know how they're going to implement it. I'm assuming it might be that we may go back slightly to the older days where we have coursework over periods of time. Or, I mean, again, I don't know. I'm surmising there. Do go back to Abigail Hawkins and she'll know, believe me. But it just made me very, very happy to know that a change is coming in where every child is going to be looking at progress, but not necessarily in the same format, which made me really, really happy. A great piece of advice that we were given yesterday was to sign up to the DofE newsletter. Now, I know lots of schools already do this, but actually the SEND specifics is what I'm going to be signing up for. And there is also the Test Daily and the STA. So you can sign up for all of those things for free, which means you get daily updates. And Dale Pickles, who is the founder of SENDcast and the creator of B Squared, said that although sometimes there are days where you get something you think is not relevant to you, it's so vital to have it because it means you've got daily updates of things that are, well, for me, I'm going to be focusing on all things autism, obviously. So yeah, that's a really, really good thing to do. And there's also your local authority. So you can look at the national data, that's free to everybody, and you can check out your local authority data just by Googling it. The green paper that was supposed to be making enormous changes, apparently that was supposed to be finished back in May, I think Abigail said, roughly 9 months behind. It looks like it's not going to be heading to us before the end of 2025 or early 26. So yeah, there we are. They are my takeaways. Now, obviously, these are just the kind of footnotes that if you are a school leader, if you are part of SLT, if you're a governor, these are the kind of very, very, very short points. Please, please, please do, if you found any of this either interesting or alarming, or it's made you think, particularly the handling and the revised guidance for reasonable force, please, please, please do go to the SENDcast, click on the sessions. It's a free session from yesterday. All you've got to do is register. The amount of detail that Abigail and Dale went into was brilliant. I filled a notepad. So do check it out and let us know if we can help in the interim. If you need any support when it comes to using our free staff training content, it is all very much back to basics, but sometimes back to basics is what you need, particularly if you've got new staff or staff that have been in the game a long while and could do with a refresher. Just know that it is there on our website. You don't have to ask our permission to use it. It is there for you to use for free. That's why we do what we do. We're a proud non-profit that want to support the autistic community, both from home and from school. We hope that you have found this useful. I've been Rebecca Clackwell, founder of Wasson Whiteley Non-Profit. Thanks for watching.